Welcome in. This is Chiefs Chase, and I am Mike Bassano, your host, as we every single week follow the Chiefs as they chase history, trying to become the first team ever to three-peat Super Bowls in the NFL. It has never happened before, and I am with you every single week breaking down every Chiefs storyline right here on Chiefs Chase. We have a lot to get to. First preseason game against Jacksonville. Aside from an injury to Hollywood Brown, more or less a little bit uneventful. However, a few things came out of it. We'll discuss that. A lot of things to get to when it comes to preseason football, even with the Chiefs starters only playing one drive. And we'll discuss the biggest issue with preseason in just a minute. But first, reports are circling right now that Rashee Rice, who's awaiting trial for hit and run and a bunch of other traffic incidents stemming back from an incident that happened in Dallas this offseason where he was driving, I think it was 119 miles per hour, slammed into a bunch of cars and then got out of his car and ran off. It's 2024, man. Most people in major cities have dash cams, so shouldn't do that. However, there are reports out right now that it appears Rashee Rice will not be suspended by the NFL. Keep in mind, he has been convicted of nothing. That's important to note. Rashee Rice, if he is not suspended, and I remember when that incident happened, we were talking about potentially a suspension for half a year, right? An 8-game suspension, maybe even 9-game suspension for Rashee Rice. But now it looks like the NFL might not suspend him at all. Which begs the question, have we gone back to the Paul Tagliabue days? Some of you might be younger. You don't know who Paul Tagliabue is. Well, Roger Goodell hasn't always been the NFL's commissioner. He has been for, I want to say like 20 years, maybe even longer than that. It's been a long time. But before Roger Goodell, there was Paul Tagliabue. And under Paul Tagliabue, you had to murder someone, bro. You had to actually do something terrible to get suspended. They might give you a fine here or there, but that league used to be a lot more fun before Roger Goodell. And not just on that front. You used to be able to hit people without getting fined. You could celebrate without being fined. So many fun things in the NFL before Roger Goodell. Not that Roger's done a bad job. He has the most successful league in the United States of America by a massive, massive margin. So with that kept in mind, I think it's important to note maybe we're going back a little bit to those days. Maybe Roger Goodell realizes he's not judge, jury, and executioner anymore. Let the trial play out. Let's see what happens. Rashee Rice had a couple of incidents over this offseason, but the only one he would be in trouble for with the NFL would be the hit and run incident. He's a young guy. He made a mistake. Thank God no one got hurt. That is the only thing I can say. Thank God no one got hurt seriously or nothing terrible happened, or it would be a totally different discussion. Hopefully Rashee Rice learns from that, and we'll see what happens with the convictions, if it happens or if it doesn't happen. Watching the video, it seems like he's probably pretty guilty. But do you get punished at your job for traffic violations? You know what I mean? It does seem like, I know, playing in the NFL is a privilege, blah, blah, blah. We have 3 Super Bowls to win here. All right? We're chasing history with the Chiefs in this one. We can't. No. We are chasing history with the Kansas City Chiefs, dude. Nobody's hurt. Everybody's all right. Get number 4 out there, man. We need pass catchers, especially with Hollywood Brown going down. And the thing is, with Hollywood Brown going down, everybody on that team becomes infinitely more important. Now Hollywood has a shoulder injury, and it's a shoulder injury that is very rare, but players usually come back from it in about 4 or 5 weeks, which means that Hollywood will likely miss the first week, but he won't miss much more than that. Do you have to go get somebody? I've heard, and I don't know how legitimate this is, but I've seen perusing the internet, C.D. Lamb's name has been thrown out. I don't know if the Chiefs could afford him. I don't know if the Cowboys would deal him to the Chiefs, get him out of the conference. Not a bad plan. But what I do know is if CeeDee Lamb comes to Kansas City, all bets are off, dude. Everything you thought you knew about the Kansas City Chiefs, about the entire NFL landscape just got blown up, and 17-0, an undefeated season, is suddenly in the conversation. We could be talking about the 2007 Patriots, which, by the way, I already think we are. I already think with guys like Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, if he can play a full season, Hollywood Brown when he's back from his injury, I already think this team has what it takes to go undefeated. It'll be very difficult, especially going through a three-peat. Everybody's going to give you their best shot every week. The Raiders know you well, as do the Broncos. The Chargers seem to consistently mess themselves. But Jim Harbaugh's there now, right? With Jim Harbaugh now as the head coach of the Chargers, it's going to be a very tough road for the Chiefs, even to get back to the Super Bowl, let alone go undefeated. But if CeeDee Lamb comes to town, gets me all fired up, man. Put shivers down the spine thinking about that. Because CeeDee Lamb's different now. He made Dak Prescott look like a monster last year. There are two Dak Prescotts. There's Dak with CeeDee Lamb and Dak without CeeDee Lamb. That's how impactful CeeDee Lamb could be. And I know, pie in the sky idea, we won't discuss it any further, but my God, thinking about him in a red jersey just gets me all worked up, man. Now, Travis Kelce has everybody going wild. Everybody's lost their complete mind when it comes to Travis Kelce. We'll get to why in just a minute. But first, preseason Chiefs first game against the Jags. Everybody's hyped up before the game. Let's go, baby.
Get the juices going, baby. It's time to get on the side. Let's go.
Hey, take advantage of the opportunity. Every play you got to make the most of that. Bring your energy all day long. We got to win. Play like it's all 3, 1, 2, 3.
Whew. Now, the game wasn't that exciting. The hype video before they went out to the field, very exciting. The game itself, right? But at the same time, man, that was such a fun moment just to get football back, to see Travis and Patrick and Andy Reid and everybody else, Chris Jones, Drew Tranquill, to see everybody run out there on the field was awesome. That was just fun. We haven't had it since the Super Bowl. So just getting that back by itself, that gets me fired up. Now, the injuries in the preseason. This is, to me, the biggest issue with preseason. Hollywood Brown is one of many players who was injured this last week. And it makes me wonder if coaches should just let players sit out. A guy like Hollywood Brown and Patrick Mahomes, they have a beautiful training facility in Kansas City and in St. Joe. And I'm sure Patrick's house probably works really well too as a training facility. I watched quarterback. I know what it looks like. So why not let these guys just train and not put them in a position where they can get pile drived into the ground like Hollywood Brown did last Saturday? That was so frustrating on so many levels because you just knew Hollywood Brown, he's so talented and he has so much upside. He struggles to stay healthy. Well, if you know that about him, why are we putting him in a position where he can get driven into the ground before the season's even began? This isn't the old days. You used to need preseason because guys came in out of shape, right? They're like, oh, I didn't. Now if you come in out of shape, boom, your job's gone. It's a different world. These athletes are year-round athletes. They're working, they're employees for the entire year. There's never a time where you go, oh, well, they just, they'll go off. They take maybe a couple of weeks after the end of the season, and then you're back in the gym. You're back working out because everybody else is. You see what I mean? If you're in the NFL today and you slack off, you might have an exception or two. right? Really talented guys. Think about, well, you know what? Honestly, I don't know if that's necessarily true anymore. I think maybe 10 to 20 years ago it was true. But now, like, Kadarius Toney might be one of the greatest athletes that we've ever seen. He's probably not going to make the team this year because he just doesn't have the work ethic. And that's what happens when you don't train in the offseason. So do you really need the preseason now? Now, for some guys who we'll get to, yes, Carson Steele, we will get to you, sir, and your pet alligator, don't you worry. For some of these guys, yes, they need the preseason. For veteran players and guys that you know for a fact will be starters, like Hollywood Brown, I would sit him if I were an NFL head coach. I know people would frown on it. They wouldn't like it. I know there's another fan aspect to it. And this is something that doesn't get talked about enough, but it is important. There are a lot of fans that can't afford to go to a regular season NFL game. So they end up going to preseason games. And they get to see the starters for a drive or a half or even a quarter or whatever. And that's special, and I understand that. But when you're chasing history like the Chiefs and you're looking for that three-peat, pick another year. You know what I mean? I think it's so important to get through this preseason without significant injury, and we already have one. It's not going to be season ending, thank goodness, but it is significant. Hollywood Brown's going to be out for the remainder of preseason and probably against the Ravens in week 1. After that, I don't know. But based on the injury and all the history of other people who have had similar injuries, like Tyreek Hill, when he was with Kansas City, it just makes more sense to not have these guys go into these situations. Because you're not going to have Brown until week 2 at least. I don't think. Not a doctor, but just look at the history, you know? I don't know. That's these bad tackles that happen, they don't happen when you're training. When you're at camp and you have guys that are on your team, they aren't going to drive Hollywood Brown into the ground on his shoulder. But when you go into a preseason game and you just have some defensive player who doesn't care whether you're healthy or not, yeah, he could drive you down. I don't love it. I don't love it. I want to see NFL coaches rest starters more. I know we all crave for football to be back. Absolutely. But God, at what cost? Now, the Chiefs' first preseason game had one major takeaway for me. Yes, Carson, we are getting to you soon. But first, Travis Kelce's headlines. If you just look up Travis Kelce on the internet, the headlines that you'll see, they show how completely out of control everything has gotten. It's completely lost, man. And because it all depends on what you see. Travis Kelce has a new haircut. That's the big headline. Travis Kelce, new haircut. But here's how the media handles Travis Kelce getting a new haircut. The New York Post with the smart headline, Patrick Mahomes credits Taylor Swift for Travis Kelce's new hairstyle. Then you go to Athlon Sports. Patrick Mahomes blames Taylor Swift for this recent change in Travis Kelce. It's the same story. And then Fox Sports says, why has Chief superstar Travis Kelce been so quiet lately? Probably because of y'all. Because you guys keep coming up with big reasons to cause a stir so you can get clicks with your crappy headlines. If I'm Travis Kelce, I'm like, dude, I'm sitting back. I'm chilling. I don't need to talk to you guys. I don't need to give you a bone. I don't need to throw you anything. I can just hang out and be Travis Kelce. It's odd, this world that we live in right now in media, right? And at this point, if you're reading headlines or you're looking at the media and you're taking it seriously, it's a little bit on you, right? It's a little bit on you. You've been told over and over again that it's fake. You've seen firsthand over and over again that it's fake. Yet here you are looking at the news. Come on, man. It's all spun. It's all spun out and none of it's actually real. Here's the whole story. Hey guys, Travis Kelce got a new haircut. Patrick Mahomes says it's because of Taylor Swift. See, I don't want to call it a problem because it's not a problem. Taylor Swift is not the problem. Travis Kelce is not the problem. Patrick Mahomes, not the problem. The problem is media. That is the problem, and it continues to be the problem around this situation. I saw those today, and I just could not believe it. I wouldn't be surprised if Travis Kelce just goes outside of his extreme media obligations, right? Because in the NFL, you are obligated to speak to the media a certain amount of times. Outside of that, why would he ever talk to anybody? He has his own podcast with his brother that he's about to sell for $100 million, which is awesome. I'm so happy for them. But why would you waste content giving it to some, ESPN or Fox or anybody? New Heights should be the one that get all of the content. So yeah, that's why he's not talking much. And also because everything that's said about Travis Kelce or Taylor Swift or anybody else gets blown way out of proportion to a ridiculous level. Travis Kelce, through no fault of his own, his life is wild, man. I couldn't imagine. Because here's the difference. A year ago, Travis Kelce could walk down a street in New York City and no one would bat an eye. No one would even think twice. Now if Travis Kelce walked down the street in New York City, he's mobbed. That's got to be wild, man. That's got to be so crazy. All right, speaking of crazy, we got a player that might be coming back to Kansas City. I don't know. We're seeing the buzz about him. We'll get to that in just a bit. But first, Carson Steele. Been teasing him the entire show because what a badass. Carson Steele. Everybody loves this guy. An undrafted fullback out of Ball State and UCLA. Comes to Kansas City. Nobody's heard of him before. We see him in the preseason game against the Jags, and he runs like a grown man. Anybody that has that style of running, Earl Campbell, Larry Zonka, Derrick Henry, Mike Allstott, that style, we're just like, I'm running through you. Everybody gets fired up about that, man, because that feels like football to us. You know what I mean? Those of us that grew up watching football, because the game gets progressively softer. And you'll say, maybe that's a good thing. Fine, whatever. But when we see a throwback player, a guy that reminds you of your high school running back, because if you would, you know what I'm talking about. Most high school running backs are just big dudes that run through guys. And they're like, "Rah!" And you assume they're at least taking creatine. But you don't know for sure. And they just run like a beast downhill with no moves. No moves. They're pad popping the whole way through. Truck stick, truck stick, truck stick. That's all they have. That's the most fun running back to watch in all of football. And Carson Steele, by golly, he is that running back. I want to watch Carson Steele play at any level. If he goes to the XFL or whatever The Rock changed it to, I want to watch Carson Steele play football. I hope it's in Kansas City. I hope it's with the Chiefs. And I am praying that we get more Carson Steele in Kansas City. But no matter what happens, I'm watching that guy play football because that's the style of football I like to watch. He doesn't have the R2 or the L2 juke moves. He doesn't have any. No, truck stick all day. Boom. By himself. Justin Ross is in the way. Throw him into a block. Truck stick. I love watching Carson Steele play football, man. I love watching Carson Steele play football. That was so much fun. What an absolute monster. Also, people love rooting for the underdog. I remember watching like Casey Printers. Only hardcore Chiefs fans are going to get that reference, which that's why I did a podcast that was specifically for Chiefs fans, because I have so much knowledge of Chiefs history already that I can reference Casey Printers. He was a third-string quarterback when the Chiefs were on Hard Knocks back in 2007, 8, somewhere around there. Had to be 8 or 9, right? No, it was when Herm was still there, so it couldn't be 9. It had 07 or 08. Herm Edwards was still the coach. So Casey Printers was so exciting to watch. And I think he went to Canada to play football. And I paid attention to his career because he was really fun to watch in preseason. He was making chicken salad out of chicken shit. Direct quote from Casey Printers that I remember off the top of my head from a show I watched almost 20 years ago. But those are the guys we get involved with in preseason. By the way, Demarcus Robinson, before he was dancing around losing yardage all the time after the catch, Demarcus Robinson was sort of a preseason hero in the first year for Patrick Mahomes. That's what got Demarcus Robinson elevated. So there's a lot of guys that throughout history that people fall in love with in the preseason. I am hoping so deeply that Carson Steele becomes one of those guys that we get to keep. We get to keep watching. I haven't been this excited about a fullback since Anthony Sherman, the sausage. And just when you thought Carson Steele couldn't get any cooler, he got a pet gator. Another gator. It's a Monsters, Inc. reference for those of you who are keeping score at home. Carson Steele, pet gator. That guy is awesome, dude. He is everything that you want a football player to be. Gritty, tough, pet gator. Because nothing says gritty and tough like a pet gator. Do you remember Any Given Sunday? Remember the movie Any Given Sunday where they pissed off the guy? I think he was Latimer in the program, but he also played, I think McKenna or somebody in Any Given Sunday. And Any Given Sunday, they ticked him off. I think they turned off his music or something, or they made fun of his dancing, I think it was. And what did he do? He came back with an alligator, threw it in the showers in the locker room. Bro, that's what it made me think of. I'm like, here we go. You know what a badass guy is? Usually, if you run like that and you got a pet alligator, there's a really good chance that you're a badass, dude. I'm fired up for it. I'm still fired up, man. You see, I'm getting going. All right, real quickly, before we get out of here, Juju Smith-Schuster coming back to Kansas City? No. Juju was cut after 1 year. He was finished 1 year of his 3-year deal in New England. The Patriots have the worst roster in the NFL, and he's already cut from it. He signed a 3-year deal there after his Super Bowl run with Kansas City, where he had an amazing couple of drives in the Super Bowl. But it would appear Juju's knees, unfortunately, even at 27 years old, and this is sad. It's a sad reality of football. A lot of times your body just breaks down. And I feel bad for Juju Smith-Schuster. I do. Because I like him. He has a special place in my heart, as he should every Chiefs fan, because in the Super Bowl against the Eagles, the Chiefs desperately needed Juju Smith-Schuster. And he came through. I hope something happens. Maybe he can take a year off, get a surgery, rehab. Maybe by 29 he gets another shot. I don't know. I don't envision Juju Smith-Schuster back in Kansas City. I'm not sure that I even envision him on a roster, which I know is shocking for a 27-year-old with so much talent. But unfortunately, as much as it sucks, sometimes that's the way the NFL goes. Because of his knees, I'm not going to do what I wanted to do here. I was going to talk about Von Bell blowing him up after the... I was actually going to show a video of Von Bell blowing him up after he did the TikTok dance on the Bengals logo when he was with the Steelers. But I'm not going to do that. Because Juju Smith-Schuster had some amazing highlights in his career. He had some amazing moments. And he was huge for the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl against the Eagles. And it's very unlikely that the Chiefs win that Super Bowl without Juju Smith-Schuster. So I'll be sincere here instead. I very much hope, Juju, that you come back, that your body heals correctly, and that somehow you become the player that you know you have the potential to be. If that doesn't happen, thank you. Thank you for your year with Kansas City and for helping take the Chiefs to a Super Bowl championship in extremely dramatic fashion. You're awesome. We will always root for you here on Chiefs Chase. So always a special place in Chiefs Kingdom for Juju Smith-Schuster. This has been Chiefs Chase. I'm Mike Bassano. Hey, thank you guys so much for joining me. I love doing this show. I love reading your comments. I love seeing that you guys are watching. Even if it's 10 people, that's 10 fucking legends. And I love every one of you. Thank you so much. Have an awesome week.